Hello, we recently made a video where we covered how we were able to buy a boat, refit her, use her for 4.5 years and then sell her on at a profit. And in that video we covered all the ownership costs apart from mooring fees. The reason we left those out is because they're very kind of subjective and individual and variable, as you're going to find out in this video. In that video I asked people to comment asking for a mooring fees video if they wanted me to make one, and quite a few people did that, so that's the reason that I've made this. Owning a boat can be extremely expensive, and it's very easy to allow boat ownership to become very expensive if you're not careful. It can also be very affordable to own a boat if you're careful about what you do. So for example, when you buy a boat, if you buy a boat at an extremely good price, then that sets you up for success in the future. You can sell it for what you paid for it or at a profit, including any money that you spend on the boat in the meantime. Now, this isn't easy. You know, 95, 98% of people will not be able to do that, because if you're paying other people to work on the boat, you're not going to do it. If you have bought a boat which isn't really the right boat and you're going to spend lots of time and effort and energy and money doing it up, then you're not going to be able to sell that at a profit. So it does take a lot of kind of very specific things to happen to allow you to do this. But it can be done. We've done it on countless occasions, and we've set ourselves up to do it again with our most recent boat, because we bought a boat for basically 50% of the market value. The figure that we paid for her, £16,000. If you go and look at Bavaria 350s, you'll see how much they cost, and they are at least double that. So we have set ourselves up to do this again. When we go and sell that boat, we won't have spent a lot of money on her, because the jobs that I've been doing aren't really very expensive. And as a result, we're going to be able to easily sell her for more than she's cost us during the time that we've owned her. If you want to know how we get deals like this, then we can help you with that, because we now have an online course. If you go to boatbuyingblueprint.com, then you'll see the course that we have, where basically I explain from start to finish how we go about finding and negotiating a deal on a boat to get an amazing deal like that. Once you've bought your boat, you then have a whole host of other decisions to make, and they can either save you or cost you a lot of money. Let me give you some examples. With our boat, we applied a homebrew copper anti-fouling paint to the boat, and that allowed us to stay in the water without getting hauled out for 4.5 years. Haul outs in that part of the world are very expensive, and you also have to get the boatyard to do the boat work, so it ends up costing you a lot of money to have an annual anti-fouling applied once you factor in all the haul-out costs and all the labour. Another example is the solar panels that I fitted to the boat. They allowed us to stay at anchor for weeks on end without having to go and plug into shore power. So a decision like that taken at the beginning of your boat owning journey ends up having a huge knock-on effect on the amount of money that you can save in the future. If you want to know more about all this, then check out the other video that we made, because that goes into great detail about ownership costs, from insurance, refit, maintenance, repair costs. It covers everything. So if you want to know that, go and check out that video. Now we're going to get into the detail of this video, which is mooring costs. Let's jump over to the computer and I'll show you some real-world examples of how mooring costs can make or break you as a boat owner. The first area we're going to look at is in Italy, the northwest of Italy, a place called Liguria. That's where we kept our boat for basically the whole time we owned her. It's a really beautiful part of the world. It is very expensive, as you'll see in a moment, but basically we bought the boat in this marina here, and then rather than keep it here, we moved it up this river to do the boat work, because here you can do DIY boat work and you can't do that anywhere here. So we saved a lot of money and we kept control of the situation. We like to do things ourselves, so that worked out better for us and our needs. In total, there was about 3 or 4 weeks max work on the boat needed for her to be ready for us to use her. And then after that was all completed, that was over a long time span, because I used to go there for short periods of time and then I'd have to go back to work and do different things. So she was ashore for 7 months and then she was launched. And then after she was launched, we brought her back into the Bay La Spezia and she stayed there, didn't get hauled out again. Even when we sold her, the new buyer didn't haul her out and he took her away to Sardinia. So let's have a look at the emails that we received from some marinas in this area, just to demonstrate how different the prices can be. Bear in mind that these emails are old and out of date, so these prices may have changed since then. They may have got more or less expensive. We don't really know, but it just gives a snapshot of what the prices were in this area. And these are all close to each other, but as you'll see, the prices are very different. So here's the first email from Portolotti, which is a very posh place to keep a boat. It's very nice. But yeah, you would expect so once you see the price. So basically, the smallest marina berth that they had was 12 metres long. So our boat was 9 metres long, a 30-foot boat. So this is a bigger berth than we needed, but they don't always have the small ones that you need. So sometimes you have to rent out a bigger berth if you want to stay there. So the price should have been €9,590 plus VAT. But they did us a special offer, which was €9,000 plus VAT. Now, bear in mind that we paid €14,000 for the boat. We weren't going to pay €9,000 plus VAT for a year's worth of berthing, so we didn't keep the boat there. Here's another example. This would have been €7,500 plus VAT. Another very nice marina, and you have a place to park your car and things like that. So you do get services, you know. It's not like you're paying for nothing. You do get a lot in return, but it's extremely expensive. Here's another one, Pisa. That's a little bit further down the coast. So all the other figures that we're looking at are from marinas in this area. Pisa is a little bit further down the coast, about here. So it's a different area. There's not quite as much to do. I mean, there are some islands around here that you can go to, but if you're going to the boat for a weekend, for example, if you're keeping it in the bay here, there are lots of places to visit just on your doorstep. This area is protected by a big breakwater there, so you can always go sailing in here, even when it's rough and windy. And then if it's a nicer day, you've got little islands and things to visit and beautiful little bays to go to. So for us, we preferred to keep the boat here rather than down towards Pisa. So yeah, Pisa would have been 4,900, including VAT. So quite a big difference there already. And then we have the next marina, which is Fezzano, which is a very nice, pretty place to keep a boat. And they offered a annual berth for €4,350 plus VAT. There's quite a big difference there already, from 9,000 plus VAT to 4,300 plus VAT. There's quite a big difference in price. Those aren't the only options for keeping a boat in this area. I'm not going to go into very minute detail because we intend to move Britaly here at some point, so we need to make sure that there is some room for us when we come back here. But basically, there are some places around about half the cost of this that you can find if you look hard and if you get into kind of the local community and find out about these things. There may be a waiting list for those. It can be quite long to get onto that list. There are also residence berths provided by the local councils around here. So if you live in this area, you can get access to the residence berths, and they cost something like €300 or €400 per year for a boat of this size. So a massive saving there. However, you do have to be resident to make use of those, and that's not easy to achieve as a cruiser. But there is one more very easy to organise and very, very cheap option, which is to anchor. Here's an example of a fantastic anchorage, La Grazia. We stayed there numerous times, and the holding here is very, very good. It's kind of very thick mud, so there would be no problem at all for you to anchor here, even in 50 knot winds, which are kind of like the maximum winds that you would expect in this area. There are no hurricanes here. So if you can set your life up in such a way that you've got the freedom to be able to stay on your boat and not have to go away to go to work, then that opens up this extremely cheap option for you. For example, if you've got some rental properties that give you an income, or if you've got other online sources of income, then you may be able to sit at anchor and live a nice, quiet, frugal life without ever having to go away to work. And because you can be there in person, you can then sit at anchor, which is free, rather than have to pay expensive marina fees to leave your boat while you go away working. If you're interested in financial freedom, I've been working on it for a long time now, on a PDF about financial freedom, where I basically share lots of different things that we've learned over the years, which have allowed us to do the things that we've done in life. We're giving that PDF away for free, and all you've got to do to get that is click on the link in the description of the video, which mentions the Financial Freedom PDF. You will then be signed up to our mailing list, and then as soon as that is ready, we'll email it out to you free of charge. It shouldn't be too much longer now. I've been working on it for about a year, but obviously life has been a little bit upside down for us all recently, so just bear with me, it is coming, and I can't wait to see what you guys think of it when that is ready. Now, if we move away from Italy and go over to the UK, then we see a similar story, and it's probably going to be true in many parts of the world. If we look at the Medway area here, you've got the marinas, which are the most expensive places to keep your boat. They may offer the most in terms of services, so depending on what you want from your boat, this may be the best choice for you. It's just a case of personal preference. In this area there are quite a few different yacht clubs. These are really good options too. We toured quite a few of these while we were there in this area with our boat, and the people there were really friendly. You basically just chip in, you all work together to get everything done that needs to be done. Generally your boat will be hauled ashore and kept ashore over the winter period, and everybody works together to achieve that. And then in the season, the boat will generally be out on a buoy on the river. So this is another really good option. It just depends what you want, you know. It's all a personal preference, but the point is that you have choices. The majority of people may keep their boats in marinas, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then the final option, the more extreme option, there's nothing stopping you if you wanted. There's absolutely nothing from stopping you from anchoring your boat somewhere and staying on it all year round if that's what you want to do. Just let me pick a place here at random. Here. Now, there's not a lot of fetch here, so even if the weather was terrible, you wouldn't really have any waves to contend with. So if you've got a good anchor, you could stay there as long as you wanted. And there is a supermarket just over here, so you just row across the river when you want to go and get your shopping, and you could live on the hook. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And that would be free. So there really are an infinite number of choices for you in terms of what expenditure you want to have for your mooring fees. So the big question here is, how much time are you going to have to spend on or with your boat, and how much time are you going to have to be away from it? And then that determines which of these options are available to you. You may be able to find a middle ground. For example, if we come back to Liguria, then it's not so expensive to have your boat kept on the hard in a place like this over at the river. So you could potentially have the boat kept on the hard, and then if you were to spend 6 months of the year working, for example, then you could come back to your boat in the summer period, and in the summer all the marinas get really expensive in this part of the world. However, if you've then got a 6-month period to spend on the boat, then you can get hauled in and then go cruising wherever you want and just stay on the hook, and that's free. So then you have very, very low expenses, and then when the season is over, you can take your boat back, have it hauled ashore somewhere relatively cheap, and then you can repeat the process the next year. You could also choose to move your boat to a different location. Now, you don't even have to have 6 months to do this. If you have 3 or 4 months, you can make a huge amount of progress. In a 4-month period, there's nothing to stop you sailing from Italy over to the Caribbean, and then you can have your boat hauled ashore and then go back to work if you need to, and then you could potentially circumnavigate like that. So the point is that there are many different ways of skinning a cat, and you don't necessarily have to do what everybody else does, and owning a boat doesn't necessarily have to be really, really expensive. From one extreme, you can buy a boat at a fantastic price, way below its market value, and then you can refit it. You can use the boat for a number of years and then sell it on at a profit, in which case it hasn't cost you anything to own your boat, especially if you've been going down the cheap mooring fees and anchoring out option. Or at the other end of the scale, you can buy a boat at or around its asking price and then spend a lot of money on a refit or upgrades, and then you use the boat for a while, and then when you go to sell it, you end up losing a lot of money because you don't recoup all the money that you've put into it. That is what happens with the vast majority of people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Owning a boat is such a huge pleasure that people are happy to pay for that privilege, but you don't have to necessarily do it that way. You can do it in a different way, and depending on what your priorities are in life, you can actually own a boat and use a boat, and it doesn't have to cost the earth. I hope this information is useful for you. If you're interested in learning more about the ownership costs of a boat, then watch the other video that we made about that. We go into quite a lot of detail about how we were able to sell a boat after 4.5 years at a profit. If you're interested in the Financial Freedom PDF, don't forget to sign up for that. And yeah, just check out the rest of our channel before you click away and watch some other videos. We've got loads of useful content, and we hope that if you enjoy what you see, then you might consider clicking on that subscribe button. We've also got the boat buying blueprint available for you, so if you're interested in saving 30% or more off the asking price of your next boat, then check out the link below and see if that's something which might interest you. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. Ciao for now.